Our film begins with a college student named Daryl who gives new students a tour of the university for a fee. He introduces them to the entire campus and its departures. During the tour, Daryl goes to the lab and meets Dr. Whedon, who kicks him out. Daryl is surprised by the altered appearance of the animals there and asks how a green mouse is possible. But Dr. Whedon dismisses him to avoid further questions. Later, Daryl goes home where his mother calls to check on him. She tells him he needs to find a job quickly to cover his university fees and bills. Daryl reassures her and his younger siblings, whom he supports financially, that he has applied for a job at a large investment company and hopes to be accepted. After the call, a university employee calls Daryl for payment, but he pretends to be his mother, claiming Daryl has died in a gang-related incident. The next day, Daryl donates blood for money, deciding to change his appearance and way from time to trick the staff into thinking he's different people and donate more frequently. Eventually, he loses consciousness due to excessive blood donation. Upon waking up, Daryl tries to sell his hair to a barber but is rejected because he is too short. He returns home, and that night his dorm mate Tim informs him that their apartment mates are looking for him to pay rent. Daryl worries because he's broke, but Tim encourages him, saying he needs to work hard to succeed. The next day, Daryl starts working at the university restaurant where he meets his roommate Scott, who always bothers him. Scott tells Daryl that he also applied for the same job at the investment company and is confident he will get it because he's wealthy and from a wealthy family, then leaves arrogantly. At this time, Janice arrives and Daryl remains focused on her because he likes her. Later, Daryl attends his lecture where Randall, the owner of the large investment company, informs the students that he will select 5 candidates, with only one who will score the full mark in the activities. That person will get the job at the company. Daryl goes to the hockey coach and tricks him into joining their team, but the coach refuses because he sees him as a failure. Daryl then asks his roommate Tim to talk to the coach and persuade him to let him join their team so he can get the job. Tim agrees and convinces the coach to let Daryl join the team. However, during the game, Daryl made a bad performance and struggles on the ice with everyone mocking him. After practice, Tim talks to Daryl, who is worried about overdue rent. At this time, Daryl sees an advertisement for a human scientific experiment for money, so he decides to participate. He goes to the lab with other volunteers where the staff warns them of potential negative side effects. All volunteers heard it except for Daryl, who was having a nap and didn't hear the warnings. Afterwards, Daryl meets Dr. Whedon, who tells him the experiment will increase his senses tenfold and gives him a specific daily dosage of the drug. After the experiment, Daryl receives $3,000. Impressed by the amount, he decides to continue taking the drug. That night, before sleeping, Daryl takes his first dose of the drug. The next day, Daryl goes to the university for the exam that will determine the 5 candidates for the job. Suddenly, the drug effect kicks in, enhancing all his senses dramatically. He becomes easily angered by those around him. The doctor warns him and threatens to disqualify him for the exam if he loses his temper again. During the exam, Daryl goes to Dr. Whedon, admitting he's struggling and unable to solve anything in the exam. The doctor reassures him that it's normal and his body will adjust to the drug's side effects over time. 2 days later, Daryl works as a waiter at the student job fair for those who applied for the job at the company. He serves at Randall's table, using his heightened senses to impress Randall by discussing the company and its details. Randall and all the guests are amazed by his intelligence and wonders why he wasn't among the candidates. After the party, Randall talks to Daryl and asks him how he failed the job test. Daryl tells him he's working 4 jobs because he needs the money. Randall is impressed by Daryl's dedication and recommends him for the job, making him the 6th candidate. The next day, Daryl goes to Dr. Whedon to test his senses and discovers the drug has had a significant effect, greatly enhancing his senses to the point where he can see very small letters from a distance. The doctor is amazed by the level Daryl's senses have reached and advises him not to increase the dosage. That night, Daryl attends Randall's company party where he announces Daryl as a 6th candidate. There, Daryl sees Janice, whom he likes, and overhears her talking to her friend about her dream guy's qualities: smart, humble, caring. Daryl introduces himself to Janice and her friend, informing Janice he has been nominated for the job. He offers to drive her home and she agrees. On the way, Daryl tells Janice about himself and gives her a flower as a gift, which impresses Janice. The next day, Daryl attends a university hockey match and succeeds, impressing the coach and audience. Later, Daryl goes to the company and meets Randall, trying to convince him he's the one for the job. Randall gives him front row tickets for Friday's match, which pleases Daryl, as several judges who will select a candidate for the job will be present, possibly liking Daryl. That night, Daryl invites Janice to dinner at his place and they both like each other. One day, Daryl takes Janice to visit his mother and siblings at their home, where his mother tells her about Daryl, describing him as a smart and responsible son since her husband's death. Afterwards, Daryl returns home and decides to take a higher dose of the drug. The next day, Daryl wakes up unable to move his body and rushes to Dr. Whedon, confessing he took an extra dose of the drug. The doctor gets upset with him, warning that he will face problems and lose his body senses and won't feel anything for 3 days until the extra dose disappears. Daryl gets nervous because he has a job test. That night, Daryl attends the match he was invited to, where he behaves strangely in front of the referee and the manager. When Daryl returns home, his old friends arrive and asks her to leave him because he is now connected with Janice. When she leaves, she loses all her senses. The next day, Daryl goes to play in the hockey match, but he completely loses his vision, causing his team to lose and infuriating the coach. Afterward, Daryl goes to Janice's house to reconcile with her, but he's surprised to find Randall, the company director, there, who mistakenly believes Janice is cheating on him with Daryl. However, it's revealed that Randall is her father. Janice talks to Daryl about privacy and tells him she doesn't trust him, so he leaves. The next day, Daryl prepares to go for the job test, but on the way, he loses his sight. He asks a beggar on the street to take him to the company. When the beggar realizes Daryl can't see, he attacks him and steals his suit. Daryl quickly goes to a clothing store and explains what happened to the owner, who sympathizes and gives him a strange-looking suit. When Daryl arrives at the company, his sight returns, but when he sees how he looks, he freaks out. He enters the test hall like that, where everyone mocks him. He sits with the candidates and the test begins. All candidates fail except Daryl and Scott. The judge asks a difficult question and Scott doesn't know the answer. At that moment, Daryl notices Janice has arrived. He gets excited, answers the questions correctly, and gets the job. However, he suddenly confesses in front of everyone that he took a drug to enhance his intelligence for the finals, which helped him pass the test. The judges and the manager are shocked and decide to cancel the job offer this year. Randall, the manager, decides to help Daryl and offers him a job in the company's mailroom. If he graduates from university and passes the job test again, he will be hired at the company. Daryl is happy about this. A year later, Daryl graduates from university and indeed gets hired at the company. And that's it. If you like this recap, hit like, share, and subscribe to our channel to keep seeing content like this one. If you have any requests or thoughts, drop them below in the comment section and we will see you at the next one. Peace out.